Swish! Countless small stones fell from the sky like rain, and a moment later, the two adversaries clashed again. Rumble! Massive booms like peals of thunder resounded through the air, and it seemed like the sky was about to tear itself apart. Once, twice, thrice, Song Yuani and the Golden Giant punched at each other again and again, neither yielding ground. One vast golden wave after another surged out from the leader of the men in black, attempting to turn Song Yuani to stone. But even someone as strong as the Golden Giant had encountered a tough foe this time. Those petrifying golden waves were constantly converting Song Yuani's stellar energy to stone, but they could never even touch the lightning-fast Song Yuani and his profound cultivation level. Even the Golden Giant found him incredibly difficult to defeat. Song Yuani's strength is a little less than the Golden Giant's, but from his hiding place, Wang Chong began to slowly observe what was going on at the other parts of the mountain. The first and second bamboo hat men had begun to move, inflicting a great slaughter. Even though the elders and experts were putting up a vigorous resistance, they were still no match. The fire of Mara that burned away stellar energy was something that many of the Righteous Alliance elders and experts could not resist. Wang Chong swept his eyes over the chaotic mountain and said to himself, "It's about time for me to leave." The Righteous Alliance base had now become extremely dangerous for him. Song Yuani was in the middle of searching for him, and while the two bamboo hat men were wreaking havoc and killing wherever they went, they were actually also looking for him. If he were to reveal his identity, the two forces battling with each other would immediately attack him. He had already seen Song Yuani's Eternal Spring mantra and developed a deeper understanding of the black-clothed men's strength. Now was the ideal time to leave. "I should go and look for Master," Wang Chong said to himself. It was best to quit while one was ahead and not play with fire. Spending one day on the mountain was enough. As these thoughts flashed through Wang Chong's mind, he began to head toward the back of the mountain, where the number of people was smallest. What's going on? These men in black are too formidable. Why haven't the Vice Alliance Lord and the others gotten here yet? Wang Chong had barely walked a few steps when he heard a voice in the darkness. The words immediately caused him to stop and frown. Vice Alliance Lord? A hint of surprise flashed through Wang Chong's eyes, and he headed in the direction of that voice. There, two wounded Righteous Alliance experts were talking with each other. During his stay with the Righteous Alliance, Wang Chong had seen quite a few elders and experts, but he had never heard of there being any Vice Alliance Lord. The two experts continued to talk. Previously, the Vice Alliance Lord said that once he had finished settling the affairs on that side, he would hurry to the northwest to join us in dealing with the demonic Emperor Old Man. But the Vice Alliance Lord wrapped up that matter 10 some days ago, and there was already a messenger bird with a letter saying that the Vice Alliance Lord was already on his way. There's no reason for him not to have shown up by now. The second Righteous Alliance expert's words caused Wang Chong's heart to tremble. Someone who was Vice Lord of the Righteous Alliance was undoubtedly stronger than Ouyang Chongheng and Sikong Yuanjia. One Song Yuani was hard enough to deal with. If he were joined by the formidable Vice Alliance Lord, this northwest adventure would become extremely dangerous for Wang Chong's group. It seems like the Righteous Alliance is fully mobilizing its forces. Master's appearance this time has garnered a great deal of their attention. Perhaps even Master underestimated the danger of the trip this time, Wang Chong noted, his mind a little uneasy. The two experts had still not noticed Wang Chong. The Alliance Lord also said that the Vice Alliance Lord and the others would arrive over the next 2 days. They should be here soon. The situation is dire, so we have to at least try and have the Vice Alliance Lord get here as quickly as possible. No one except the Vice Alliance Lord can deal with those other two men in black, one of the injured Righteous Alliance experts said. There's nothing to be done except try. Send the signal. We have to get the Vice Alliance Lord to arrive as soon as possible. With their minds made up, the two experts left. A few seconds later, a messenger bird took off and also, swish! There was a piercing whistle as a dazzling firework soared into the sky. After rising several hundred meters, it exploded, lighting up the night with the dazzling image of a yin-yang symbol and a white crane, the symbol of the Righteous Alliance. For a moment, the entire mountain was as bright as day, and the exploding firework was visible from several dozen li away. Wang Chong was already halfway down the mountain, and when he saw that massive firework in the sky, he couldn't help but shiver in fear. There was a reason the Righteous Alliance was known as the #1 faction of the martial arts world. With this kind of firework, they could quickly send out a plea for help and receive reinforcements. At this moment, Wang Chong heard the raspy and deep voice of a man in black coming from 20 to 30 meters away, its owner moving past him. "Hurry and find him. I don't believe that he could have flown away." With the 3 commanders standing guard down below, there was no way he could have left the mountain. "Find him. No matter what, we can't let him escape." Wang Chong immediately slowed down and hid himself behind an extinguished bonfire, at the same time minimizing his aura as much as possible. That person clearly did not notice Wang Chong and swiftly vanished toward another part of the mountain. "They truly are difficult to deal with," Wang Chong quietly remarked. He had believed that Song Yuanyi and the Righteous Alliance had drawn all the attention of the men in black so that they didn't have any time to worry about him, but it was now apparent that they had taken precautions against his escape. Escaping would not be as easy as he first imagined it to be. Rumble. As he was thinking, a figure crashed into the ground near him. "You wicked devils. All of you deserve to be punished. Today, this old man will carry out the will of the heavens and exterminate all you devils." A Righteous Alliance elder, his robes flapping in the wind and drenched in blood, arrived in pursuit. "Humph, laughable. You can't even take care of yourself, and you want to kill me?" mocked a sinister voice from the ground. The man in black who had been knocked down slapped his right hand against the ground and got back up. Using his void movement technique, he swiftly charged forward to meet the assault of the Righteous Alliance elder. At this moment, Blood Eye's heart was brimming with rage. This operation against the target had gone badly from the start. Putting aside the men who had been killed in Luyao City, they had lost a large number of men on this mountain. What they had taken to be some minor faction had been a most troublesome force. Even after their 3 leaders had taken action, they were still finding it difficult to exterminate their foe. "Lowly ant. Anyone who dares to oppose us only has death to look forward to." Blood Eye's expression was savage as he pushed his void movement technique to its limits, turning into an indistinct and ever-shifting blur as he rushed at the Righteous Alliance elder. Every one of his attacks was aimed at a lethal point, and surging black flames were constantly howling toward the elder. "It's him." Meanwhile, Wang Chong had also taken note of the nearby Blood Eye. This was not his first time exchanging blows with this man in black, and Wang Chong had been able to determine at a glance that this man was a person of some status in the organization of men in black. Not only that, Wang Chong vaguely recalled that when that eagle flew down from the sky, this man had been the one leading the way. More importantly, this person was far too close to him. If Wang Chong made even the slightest move, he would be almost immediately discovered. As these thoughts ran through his mind, Wang Chong suddenly had an idea. But he did not act immediately, instead choosing to silently wait. Nearby, Blood Eye was completely focused on the Righteous Alliance elder, failing to notice the motionless figure of Wang Chong on the ground. He was moving faster and faster and getting more and more excited. He could sense that this Righteous Alliance elder was reaching his breaking point. In these short moments, he was now sporting 5 or 6 new wounds, each one so deep that one could see the bone. It wouldn't take long until the Righteous Alliance elder was finished. As the Righteous Alliance elder dodged left and right and was on the verge of falling to Blood Eye's attacks, suddenly, a vast stream of psychic energy slammed into Blood Eye's mind. Even though Blood Eye was powerful, this attack took him completely off guard and was tantamount to a hammer pounding into his brain. His mind went completely blank and his body went stiff. In normal circumstances, this kind of momentary pause would have been unimportant, but in the middle of a fierce battle, it was fatal. Plush! Plush! In a flash, a sword had been thrust through his chest, and then a palm shrouded in immense strength grabbed his head and simply crushed it. The headless Blood Eye's body trembled once or twice before falling to the ground. What happened here? Even the Righteous Alliance elder was stunned over the fact that he had killed this powerful man in black with a single palm. He confusedly scanned the area, but all was quiet and empty. It was like he had just experienced an illusion. Were my eyes playing tricks on me? The Righteous Alliance elder muttered, his mind dazed and confused. But there was no time to ponder this matter, as the battle was still in full swing. His body swayed as he immediately flew off toward another part of the battle. Once the elder was gone, Wang Chong extricated himself from the pile of corpses by the bonfire. After glancing in the direction the elder had left, Wang Chong swiftly made his way down the mountain. Suddenly, as he passed his eyes over Blood Eye's headless corpse, his eyes widened, and he turned around and landed next to Blood Eye. He extended his right hand, removing a secret manual from Blood Eye's bosom. This book had been placed in a well-hidden position by Blood Eye, but the fierce battle and the final fall had caused a corner of it to protrude outward. Wang Chong had battled with the men in black many times but had never obtained any treasures from their bodies. The men in black operated with simplicity and efficiency. For every mission, they would always bring only what they needed. Thus, this secret manual that had poked out seemed extremely special. Wang Chong took it up and immediately saw the 3 words on its cover. Void Movement Technique. Wang Chong felt his heart jolt at these words. To think that it would be this. Wang Chong was both surprised and elated at this unexpected harvest. These men in black had mysterious origins, but there was no questioning the profundity of their martial arts. Whether it was the fire of Ju Bai, fire of Mara, or the fire of Lu Wu, they were all extremely powerful kinds of energy. And the movement technique used by this recent batch of men in black was also an extremely profound martial art. This movement technique allowed them to move with such incredible speed that Wang Chong could only keep track of them by tracing their energy trails in the world of energy. For anyone else, even those of a similar level of strength, they would have undoubtedly been struck by the enemy attacks. Most importantly, movement techniques had never been one of Wang Chong's strong points, and the movement technique recently used by these men in black far surpassed the vast majority of the world's movement techniques. This perfectly complemented Wang Chong's flaw. And in his current state of cultivation defect, this technique would allow Wang Chong to more easily escape from certain situations and increase his survivability. Wang Chong swiftly put the Void Movement Technique manual into his bosom. Chaos still reigned in the darkness, the cries of fighting echoing endlessly in his ears. Wang Chong continued to make his way down the slope, encountering many battling men in black and Righteous Alliance disciples along the way. Under the cover of darkness, Wang Chong was able to avoid detection and quickly reached an area near the base of the mountain. He would only need a little longer to make his departure. When he was still several meters from the base of the mountain, a sharp cry came from overhead. This was extremely abrupt and caused Wang Chong to raise his head in surprise. He spotted a muscular black silhouette in the sky, its 2 wings spread out as it glided by. It was a black eagle. The starlight was dim, but Wang Chong could still clearly see the eagle's sharp eyes, dazzling like 2 stars. This eagle was looking down below and constantly circling the perimeter of the mountain as if it was searching for something. Buzz! Wang Chong's expression chilled and a deep apprehension emerged in his mind. This is a countermeasure of those men in black against me. Wang Chong instinctively understood what was going on. There were no battles taking place on the perimeter of the mountain, and there was no need for an eagle to keep watch here. There was no doubt that this eagle was meant to prevent people from leaving the mountain. Even in the middle of an intense battle, these men in black had not relaxed their vigilance and had left this eagle to keep a watch out for their target. Wang Chong sensed that while those 3 bamboo hat men, particularly the leader who was fiercely fighting with Song Yuani, were all occupied with battle, if he were to reveal himself, they would immediately cast aside everything else and pursue him. Whoosh! As he was thinking, he heard a sound from nearby. Turning to look, he saw a rock rolling down the mountain, apparently knocked loose by a strong wind or a bolt of energy. The eagle in the sky cried out. A moment later, boom! Black stellar energy shot over and struck the rolling rock, instantly obliterating it. Buzz! Wang Chong looked over to where that stellar energy had come from and saw a man in black drawing back his palm, apparently realizing that it was just a rock. With a leap, he quickly withdrew into the distance, his eyes warily observing the mountain. This sight caused Wang Chong's heart to sink. Wang Chong used this moment to swiftly inspect his surroundings. This time, Wang Chong managed to pick up a few details that he had not the first time around. Men in black had been positioned around 30 to 40 meters from the mountain, standing motionless in the darkness. No matter how intense the battle on the mountain was, they showed no intention of intervening. They stood guard around the mountain, vigilantly watching their surroundings, the smallest sign of activity immediately drawing their attention. These people were here to watch, not fight. The eagle in the sky, the men in black on the ground. Wang Chong's heart sank even more. These men in black had meticulously planned out their countermeasures against him. Leaving this mountain without alarming anyone would not be as easy as he had imagined. This is a problem. Wang Chong furrowed his brow. With his current abilities, he could naturally force his way through, but this would probably earn him the attention of Song Yuanyi, the Golden Giant, and all the rest of the men in black. It would be no easy task to throw off their pursuit. It seems like I'll have to think of another way, Wang Chong quietly said to himself, countless thoughts running through his mind. Although the men in black had locked down the area, there was definitely a way, even if a slightly more troublesome one. Swish! As Wang Chong concealed himself and began to think, he was suddenly alerted by a sharp voice and an almost inaudible rustle from behind him. Bzzz. Wang Chong immediately shot to the side without a second thought. Ding! A thin silver needle around 7 inches long brushed past Wang Chong, sinking into the rock in front of him. That sturdy rock seemed to be as fragile as tofu in front of that needle. At this moment, a sinister and familiar voice came from behind him. Young Master Qingyang. Where do you think you're going? Ji Endu, garbed in a black robe whose right shoulder and sleeve were spattered with blood, was gloomily staring at Wang Chong, his eyes like those of a venomous snake. Young Master Ji, what are you doing? Wang Chong took 2 steps back, putting on a face of shock and confusion for Ji Endu to see. Humph, stop pretending. From the very first day, I thought that there was something strange about you. Although I don't know what's going on, you're definitely not young Master Qingyang. Moreover, on the mountain, you set me up. At these last words, Ji Endu gnashed his teeth, his eyes exploding with killing intent. The attack of the men in black had been very strange, and then there was that black-clothed assassin who had drawn over that pile of men in black to attack him before completely vanishing. If he had not used the blood escape art, he would have already been dead. And when he tried to flee from the mountain, he discovered that the 3 bamboo hat men and others were standing guard. In the end, Ji Endu was forced to return to the mountain and hide. Ji Endu had racked his mind and determined that there was only one person in the Righteous Alliance with the capability and motive to set him up, young Master Qingyang. Protector Ji, I have no idea what you're talking about. Your misunderstandings of me are far too great, Wang Chong said as he engaged in a standoff with Ji Endu. Humph, it doesn't matter if you know or not. This time, no one will come to save you. I'd like to see how long you can keep up your pretenses in front of me, Ji Endu coldly said, his eyes surging with a desire to kill. Bang! Ji Endu stomped forward, his robes and hair beginning to dance around him despite the lack of wind. As Wang Chong watched, an energy much stronger than he had exuded before erupted from his body. This time, however, the energy was dark and sinister, tinged with indescribable evil. Wang Chong even smelled a strong stench of blood. This is... Wang Chong was alarmed as he seemed to think of something. Humph! Ever since I entered the Righteous Alliance and became a disciple of the Righteous Path, Song Yuanyi has forbidden me from using this art. But since he's got his own matters to worry about right now, I'd like to see who can save you now. It doesn't matter if you're real or a sham. I'll turn you into a shriveled corpse. Ji Endu's face was shrouded in black energy and twisted in savagery. Boom! Before Wang Chong could respond, the black energy around Ji Endu's body exploded, the shadows shifting around him. Suddenly, a black sun was suspended in front of Ji Endu's body, exuding tremendous suction that caused stones, dust, and wind to spin around him. Crack! A large rock nearby along with pieces of firewood were pulled up from the ground by the force Ji Endu exuded. What is this? Wang Chong's eyes widened. Jiandu's aura gave him a familiar feeling, as it was somewhat similar to the little Yin-Yang art, but it was also stronger, similar to the great Yin-Yang heaven creation art. However, Wang Chong's great Yin-Yang heaven creation art would never create this kind of black sun. Just what sort of thing did he cultivate? Wang Chong's eyebrows twitched. Jiandu had not received the true legacy of his master, so he had no knowledge of the great Yin-Yang heaven creation art. Wang Chong had never imagined that a traitorous bastard like Jiandu had somehow managed to comprehend some mutant version of the art. But even so, this art was still incredibly powerful. From Wang Chong's perspective, it had around 40 to 50% of the actual great Yin-Yang heaven creation art's power. Trying to play tricks in front of me is like an amateur trying to show off in front of a master. Today, I will use this Yin-Yang art to grind your bones into dust, and then push the responsibility on the men in black. Jiandu's sinister voice came in from all sides, and that dreadful absorption power and a wave of stellar energy swept toward Wang Chong. Wang Chong's face instantly turned grave. Jiandu's strength was secondary. What was important was that this show of force from him meant that Wang Chong could no longer fool him by just dodging around. Wang Chong could no longer keep hiding his strength in this situation. But once he took action, his excuses from before would instantly fall apart. It seems like I'll have to risk a breakout, Wang Chong said to himself. Once he began to attack, Song Yuani and the leader of the men in black would immediately notice what was going on. Wang Chong's only choice would be to force his way through the encirclement. Whether or not he could succeed and how far he could run would depend on his luck. But there was one thing that was beyond doubt. What was coming next would undoubtedly be a tough battle. Protector Ji, what are you doing? Just when Wang Chong and Jiandu were about to engage in a vicious battle, a righteous but rather young voice suddenly came from the side, and then a youthful figure plunged in between Jiandu and Wang Chong. Song Ju. Jiandu was alarmed, and Wang Chong also noticed who this newcomer was. Song Yuan's younger brother Song Ju had appeared on the perimeter at some point and thrown himself into the battle between him and Jiandu. Bastard, you're crazy, Jiandu yelled in fury. He forcefully turned around the Yin-Yang art he had sent hurtling at Wang Chong and then flew backward. At almost the same time, Wang Chong grabbed Song Ju and flew back to increase the distance. Song Ju, do you have any idea what you're doing? Jiandu angrily said. Song Yuan was the daughter of Righteous Alliance Lord Song Yuani, and Song Ju was Song Yuan's younger cousin, and the two of them had an extremely close relationship. Although Jiandu wanted nothing more than to kill Wang Chong here, he was not so impulsive as to attack Song Ju as well. Jiandu, I should be the one asking you that question. Young Master Qingyang is an honored guest of our Righteous Alliance and has helped our Righteous Alliance once before. You've gone crazy, actually about to attack him. Song Ju's face was red, his fists clenched in agitation. If he hadn't appeared, young Master Qingyang would have already been struck by Jiandu's vicious hand. Damn it! Jiandu inwardly cursed. He could easily kill Song Ju, but if he did this, there would be no place left for him in the Righteous Alliance or the world of sex. No matter how bold Jiandu was, he would never dare to make an enemy of Song Yuani. Kree. As Jiandu was pondering what to do, an explosion came from the distance, and then a figure shot out of the sky, leaving a trail in the air that stretched for thousands of feet as they hurtled toward the Righteous Alliance base. At that moment, the winds howled and the air was awash with dust and stone. Everyone could sense that the person at the front of that trail contained an energy that could drown out the oceans and tear apart the world. Who's that? Wang Chong's robes flapped in the wind as he looked up at the sky in shock. The figure that had appeared in the sky was like a comet, their body erupting with dazzling white light. Wang Chong sensed an extremely dangerous aura from this person, an energy strong enough to be on par with the Righteous Alliance Lord Song Yuani. And this person's aura was much more tyrannical and domineering. Boom! In the blink of an eye, that figure had soared through the sky and collided with the summit, sending dust shooting several thousand feet into the air. The entire mountain swayed and the earth seemed like it was about to crack apart. Vice Alliance Lord. Jiandu was startled by what he sensed and turned his head to the summit. Jiandu was arrogant and unyielding, cold and callous, but at this moment, a hint of terror appeared on his face. Rumble. In the blink of an eye, that figure began to fiercely battle with the bamboo hat men on the summit. Vice Alliance Lord. Vice Alliance Lord. Vice Alliance Lord. In just a few short moments, all the Righteous Alliance disciples on the mountain exploded with heaven-shaking cheers. Kill! At almost the same moment, Wang Chong felt the world shake as yet another batch of Righteous Alliance experts charged toward the mountain. The second wave of reinforcements from the Righteous Alliance had finally arrived. Song Ju, young Master Qingyang. Why are you here? An elderly voice came from the side, and Wang Chong turned to see Ouyang Chongheng rushing over, his breathing ragged. This place isn't safe. Follow me to the summit. The Vice Alliance Lord is here now, and once he joins together with the Alliance Lord, victory will be ours. The sight of this Righteous Alliance elder caused Wang Chong's eyes to go slack. Wang Chong had initially still had some hope of leaving, but he now seemed to have lost his chance. He turned to Song Ju and then to Ouyang Chongheng, a complicated look in his eyes. Let's go. Since he couldn't leave, Wang Chong decided to just give up and follow Song Ju and Ouyang Chongheng back up the mountain. As for Ji Endu, he had already vanished. Wang Chong calmed his mind and restrained all his energy as he followed Ouyang Chongheng back to the summit. As Wang Chong reached the midway point of the mountain, he could see that the mountain had been devastated. Half the mountain had been obliterated, and jagged stones littered the landscape. Above the mountain, Song Yuani and a white-robed man who Wang Chong had never seen before were battling with the three bamboo hat men. The place where those five were battling had become the most dangerous part of the battlefield. Figures were flashing back and forth. The air was distorted. Sharp whips howled and snapped, and flames burned. The three bamboo hat men had extremely sharp and vicious attacks, particularly the Golden Giant. His every attack caused explosions of golden light that seemed about to tear apart the fabric of space. And with each attack, large quantities of stellar energy would be turned to chunks of stone that rained down from the sky. On the other side, Song Yuani was also pushing his techniques to their limit. The unique stellar energy of his eternal spring mantra radiated from him, immediately causing grass and flowers to sprout wherever it touched the ground. Even the bamboo hats worn by his three enemies began to sprout leaves and flowers. But all these things were soon burned to ashes by the black fire of Mara. But what truly drew Wang Chong's attention was the icy and determined man fighting next to Song Yuani. He wore a dragon-shaped golden ring on his left index finger, and it caused the man to exude a noble and distinguished air, even from a distance. But what Wang Chong truly cared about was this man's terrifying energy. Bang! Just like Song Yuani, this white-robed man did not use any sort of weapon. He merely used his fists, but his punches contained a power that could sunder the heavens and cleave open the earth. Wang Chong could clearly sense that with each of the man's punches, the vast stellar energy of the bamboo hat man he was fighting tore apart like paper. Even when that golden giant was facing an ordinary punch from that white-robed man, the golden waves around him were torn asunder, the attacks neutralizing each other. While Song Yuani was a long-endurance fighter with swift recovery time, the three bamboo hat men were clearly much more apprehensive about the white-robed man. Whenever one of those black fissures in the air extended toward them, they rushed to get back, apparently terrified at what they could do. Even Wang Chong couldn't help but feel his heart shiver at those fissures in space. As that white-robed man punched again and again, tearing asunder the attacks of the bamboo hat men, Wang Chong suddenly realized what art this was, and he immediately found it impossible to remain calm. The universe-sundering art. To see even one of the 10 great arts of the Central Plains was incredibly rare, let alone two. Wang Chong was already flabbergasted to see Song Yuani use the immortal universe eternal spring mantra, and now this extremely noble and dignified Vice Alliance Lord was using another one of these techniques. The #1 art in the world when it came to breaking through stellar energy. The universe-sundering art. Although this art was ranked below the art of God and demon obliteration and the origin immortal art, it possessed terrifying might in battles between martial artists. It was said to be able to break through all stellar energy techniques in the world, and even a light touch when using this art would be enough to shatter the toughest steel like it was a block of tofu. Song Yuanyi was already extremely powerful, and now that he had the offensively inclined Vice Alliance Lord at his side, the three bamboo hat men were instantly hard-pressed. As for down below, the Righteous Alliance experts who had come with the Vice Alliance Lord had already entered the battle. Retreat! Everyone, retreat for now! The Golden Giant on the summit growled thunderously. The Righteous Alliance was far more difficult to deal with than they had imagined, and it would be very difficult for them to win in the situation as it stood. Buzz! When a tree fell, the monkeys would scatter. The men in black at the base of the mountain were the first to retreat, and then the men in black midway up the mountain frantically fled into the darkness. Finally, the three bamboo hat men began their escape. Humph! Don't even think about it! With a bone-chilling cry, the Righteous Alliance Vice Lord gave chase, his robes flapping in the wind. But a moment later, a white fog swept toward Song Yuanyi and the Vice Alliance Lord. Careful! A voice warned from behind him. The Vice Alliance Lord also seemed apprehensive. One could see at a glance that there was poison in this fog, but he was not too worried. Rumble! White stellar energy roared out of his body, instantly scattering the fog. The remaining power in this attack rumbled forward and struck the bamboo hat man who was farthest behind in the back. Whoosh! This attack came with incredible speed, and even though the third bamboo hat man had somewhat prepared himself, he still could not endure the power of the universal sundering art. His stellar energy instantly crumpled as a grievous injury was inflicted on his body, causing him to vomit blood. This energy caused his body to hurtle forward, flipping over in the air several times, but he was also able to use this energy to swiftly escape into the darkness. Guangting, forget it. Don't pursue a cornered enemy. Seeing that the Vice Alliance Lord wanted to continue the chase, Song Yuanyi called out to stop him. This momentary delay was enough for all the men in black in the distance to completely vanish from sight. Since the enemy had fled, Xie Guangting could only give up on the pursuit and turn to Song Yuanyi. Yuanyi, what's going on here? Where did such powerful opponents come from, and with such bizarre arts? The origin of these men in black is unknown, and I cannot answer your question. We should treat the wounded first and talk about this matter later. Song Yuanyi's face was rather pale. It was clear that he had been injured in that fierce battle. Slowly, he walked down from the sky. Swish! He scanned the area, a hand reaching out from his sleeve and lightly flicking. Tensome bolts of energy flew through the air, each one entering the body of a wounded Righteous Alliance disciple who had fallen. Song Yuanyi had not dared to consume too much energy before the defeat of his opponent, but now that the battle was over, he could spend his energy liberally. Ah! With cries of pain, those motionless Righteous Alliance disciples began to cough and slowly get up. Their breathing was still weak, but color was rapidly returning to their faces while their wounds were rapidly closing. Alliance Lord! Seeing Song Yuanyi, these people all bowed, but Song Yuanyi ignored them, swiftly walking past these people. Boom! With a wave of his sleeve, he sent out a boundless wave of eternal spring stellar energy. Wherever this wave passed, many of the fallen Righteous Alliance disciples began to stand up, the injuries on their bodies healing. Even some of the Righteous Alliance disciples who had been poisoned by the celestial powder were cured by Song Yuanyi's eternal spring stellar energy and began to awaken. Rumble! Song Yuanyi's eternal spring mantra poured down the slopes of the mountain. Many Righteous Alliance disciples stood back up, but many more remained motionless on the slopes. Many of these people had been killed in the battle with the men in black, but a significant portion had also taken in too much celestial powder. Not even Song Yuanyi's eternal spring mantra had any effect on them. As Wang Chong made his way up the mountain, he also noticed the miserable condition of the disciples who had been poisoned by the celestial powder. The celestial powder this time is different. It seems to be much stronger. The men in black had also used the celestial powder on him at Liuyao City, but that odorless and tasteless powder was meant for paralyzing stellar energy and capturing the target alive. The poison this time was much more lethal. Fortunately, the night wind blew in only from one side, or the losses would have been much worse, Wang Chong quietly said to himself. The vast majority of these dead disciples were on the eastern face of the mountain. The organization of men in black had sprinkled the poison powder in the wind, catching these disciples completely off guard and poisoning them. Wang Chong could see that their skin, fingernails, lips, and faces had started to shrivel up and turn black. They were already thoroughly dead, and their bodies were contorted as if they had experienced immense pain before death. Although Song Yuanyi's eternal spring mantra was said to be able to regrow bones and heal mortal wounds, even it was powerless in this situation. Everything had calmed back down, but cleaning up the situation would take a very long time. With the battle over, the 3 bamboo hat men and the surviving men in black reconvened at a forest several dozen li away from the Righteous Alliance base. The bamboo hat man who transformed into a golden giant had undone his transformation and returned to normal size. What's going on? After such a long time, did no one find any sign of the target? The bamboo hat leader's face was pale, his body naked. He took a towel from a subordinate and wiped his face, which was drenched in cold sweat. If one looked carefully, one could see a tattoo of a golden man on the stomach of the leader, moving along with the tensing of the muscles and bursting with light. The bamboo hat leader seemed extremely exhausted. Returning from that golden giant to his ordinary body did not consume much stellar energy, but it put the body through excruciating pain and required vast amounts of physical strength. This Righteous Alliance Lord had been much harder to deal with than he had imagined. No, we were searching the entire time, but we found no sign of him. The men in black lowered their heads. The bamboo hat leader who had been wiping his face suddenly stopped, a cold light in his eyes. Bang! There was an explosion of stellar energy, and the several men in black who had spoken up just now were immediately sent flying into ancient trees with trunks that would take 3 or 4 men to completely encircle. Boom! Wood chips flew as these men were half buried in these trees. Useless things! One of the bamboo hat men cursed as he slowly withdrew his palm. This night raid had been a major defeat, completely different from the nearly assured victory they had initially expected. In the end, they didn't even know where the target was. It was simply disgraceful. A man in black lowered his head and muttered, "My lord, we were standing guard around the base of the mountain this entire time, but no one ever left. We also don't know what happened. Logically speaking, the Soul Eagle shouldn't have failed." Trash! The bamboo hat man who had previously lashed out now stared at this black-clothed man, a stream of psychic energy surging forth. A moment later, this black-clothed man's eyes went slack, and then his hands clenched around his throat as he fell to his knees. His eyes began to bulge outward and then, plush! Black blood poured out of his eyes, mouth, ears, and nose. Thump! He dropped to the ground, devoid of any life. Only now did the bamboo hat man's mood seem to improve. The other men in black fell into fearful silence, not daring to make a noise. At this time, the 3rd bamboo hat man finally spoke. "Forget it. The mission failed, and killing those people now will do us no good. Even the Immortal Lord has been alarmed by his multiple escapes and has been compelled to personally move out. This target isn't as easy to deal with as we imagined. Our first priority should be to consider what our next move will be." The 3rd bamboo hat man quickly turned to the ordinary men in black. "You're all dismissed. I'll summon you again when you're needed." "Yes, my lord." The men in black fearfully scattered like frightened birds. Only when these men had dispersed did the 3 men finally turn back around. "My lord, what should we do?" The 2nd and 3rd bamboo hat men turned to their leader. Even though the others hadn't realized and had only believed that their leader had undone the Golden Warrior transformation, these 2 understood that his condition was actually rather poor. "I underestimated him. I didn't think that there was such a formidable individual amongst the sects of the Central Plains. To think he could cultivate that technique to such a level." The bamboo hat leader did not directly answer, his eyes turning to the mountain where the Righteous Alliance base was located. Slowly, a thin trickle of black blood seeped down his lips. The other 2 bamboo hat men were alarmed at his sight. They were keenly aware of their leader's strength. In this battle, he had seemed invincible in his golden giant form, but in the end, he had actually lost his battle with the Righteous Alliance Lord. Although he isn't stronger than me, his organs are far more tenacious than mine, even when I'm in my giant form. If I hadn't seen it for myself, I would have never dared to believe it. We were truly too careless this time, the leading bamboo hat man said. This righteous alliance is truly too bold. Some measly ants actually dare to oppose us gods. There can be no forgiving this crime. We should find a chance to completely exterminate this righteous alliance, the second bamboo hat man said, his face radiating a terrifying chill. Now is not the time to think about such things. The leader waved his hands and immediately rejected the idea. The true Lord is about to descend. All of you know what will happen if we cannot find the target and complete our mission by the time the true Lord has descended. Buzz. Hearing that the true Lord was descending, the other two bamboo hat men paled, an intense and oppressive fear in their eyes. "Milord, then we should." The two bamboo hat men swallowed, lacking the sharpness from before. "Relax. The origin immortal mountain will appear soon. We can deal with them then. And if all goes as expected, our target should appear there as well," the bamboo hat leader said, his eyes profoundly turning to the northwest. A cold and callous smile emerged on his lips. As the men in black discussed their plans, the banners of the Righteous Alliance were once more raised over its temporary base, the white crane on the yin-yang symbol standing out in the darkness. All the Righteous Alliance disciples were busy cleaning up the battlefield. Song Yuanyi's white tent on the summit had been obliterated, but a new tent was quickly set up. Inside the tent, Song Yuanyi and Xie Guangting were conversing. "Can you talk about it now? Just what is going on here? If I had come just a little later, the experts you had brought with you would have been completely wiped out. When did such formidable experts appear in the world of sex?" Xie Guangting grimly said. The atmosphere in the tent was solemn, and Song Yuanyi remained silent, his complexion rather unsightly. Using the Eternal Spring mantra, he had managed to save some of the disciples, but still 600 to 700 disciples had died in this battle. This was a grim loss for the Righteous Alliance, especially since 3 of the Alliance elders had died in the battle as well. Not even in a battle with the 5 Ancestor Alliance would the Righteous Alliance have sustained such heavy losses. No, to be more exact, there was no faction in the entire martial arts world that would dare to so heedlessly and brazenly attack the Righteous Alliance. This was no sect, Song Yuanyi suddenly declared. "I am just as confused about where these men in black came from as you are, and from start to finish they never said anything about who they were. Even so, I've begun to roughly understand what's going on. These people did not come to attack us." "Oh!" Xie Guangting raised a brow, a look of surprise on his face. Song Yuanyi said nothing, his profound eye slowly turning elsewhere. Meanwhile, Wang Chong was seated cross-legged on the ground and meditating when his heart suddenly thumped with an ill foreboding. A few moments later, a voice rang out at his ear. "Young Master Qingyang, the Alliance Lord wishes to see you." At some point, a Righteous Alliance disciple had come up behind Wang Chong. "Oh!" Wang Chong raised an eyebrow, a few thoughts going through his mind, but he quickly regained his composure. "Okay, I'll go over now." By the time Wang Chong reached the summit, many people had already gathered there. There were Righteous Alliance elders like Xikong Yuanjia and Ouyang Changheng, and many other experts of the Alliance, including Ji Endu. All of them were assembled around Song Yuanyi and the Vice Alliance Lord, in the middle of discussing something. When Wang Chong arrived, the entire summit fell silent. As Wang Chong saw the array of forces on the mountain, his heart thumped in his chest. But he said nothing and confidently strode over. Paying respects to Alliance Lord, Wang Chong stopped 3 or 4 steps away, clasped his hands and bowed. Seeing Wang Chong, Song Yuanyi nodded. "You've come. We were currently discussing the attack of those men in black. The Alliance has sustained significant losses, and since young Master Qingyang is with us, there is no harm in having you listen in and seeing whether you think of anything. Perhaps there will be an unexpected harvest." "Yes." Wang Chong's eyes flashed, but he said nothing more and stood to the side. The group quickly restarted the discussion. "Alliance Lord, we've searched their bodies but didn't find anything identifying them. We managed to catch 2 of them alive, but just like the others, they were suicide soldiers. We had barely even spoken a few words with them when they punctured the poison sachets in their teeth and died. We've truly lost too much this time. Our righteous alliance is so powerful, but we couldn't find a single clue about these people. How is this possible? That's right. And all of you saw that giant at the end. His punches could actually turn stellar energy to stone. That's no longer any kind of martial art. In my view, these aren't humans but demons. And they all used evil arts. The night's events had given everyone an enormous shock. For the first time, these people had come to realize that the world was home to such a powerful and mysterious force. Let's not talk about who these people are for the moment, Xianxia suddenly said in his rough voice. I only want to know one thing. Why did they attack us? His muscular and stalwart body was still seething with rage. This battle had begun in an utterly inexplicable fashion. And even now, Xianxia did not understand why they had been fighting each other. These men in black had left as mysteriously as they had come, leaving many dead in the alliance and the survivors utterly baffled. That's right. Just what did they want? It all happened so suddenly that I'm still scratching my head even now. The others called out in agreement with Xianxia's words. Every operation had a goal, but no one could tell what these men in black had wanted. Was it fortune? Then they should have gone to the imperial court of the secular world. For treasure? The Righteous Alliance wasn't holding any treasure in this temporary base. Revenge? The Righteous Alliance had never seen these people before. The battle was done now, with both sides suffering heavy losses, but the Righteous Alliance still did not know what they wanted. There was no more confusing matter in the world than this. Hey! At this moment, a strange and sinister laugh rang out in everyone's ears. None of you know what's going on, but I do. This person immediately attracted everyone's attention. Xianxia, what nonsense are you babbling? If you've thought of something, hurry up and talk. Don't try and act all mysterious. A nearby Righteous Alliance elder couldn't help but rebuke. The Righteous Alliance lord also couldn't help but frown, but he remained silent. Xianxia pretended not to hear, his shoulders trembling as he proudly smiled. Ha! Not for fortune, treasure, or revenge, and there are certainly no women here to kidnap, so what exactly were they here for? All of you can't understand, but the reason is very simple. These people weren't coming for us, but they were intentionally drawn here by someone else. Someone set us up. Hua! The elders and experts had been angrily glaring at Xianxia at first, but now, they were in an uproar over Xianxia's words. Wang Chong remained silent, but his heart sank. He could already see what Xianxia was trying. Protector Ji, stop exaggerating. Who would try to set us up, and who would dare to do so? Has this stimulation caused you to start talking nonsense? A Righteous Alliance elder chided. Xianxia had originated from the evil path and had been a disciple of it. Although it was said that he had corrected himself and stepped back onto the righteous path, many in the alliance still found him unpleasant. That's right. Protector Ji, what are you saying? Across the realm, just who would be so daring as to set up our righteous alliance? All of them found this matter simply too absurd to simply take Xianxia at his word. Humph! Xianxia only scornfully smiled. Let him talk, Xianxia interjected. Xianxia had sustained significant injuries in his battle with that bamboo hat man. If he hadn't been cultivating the Zhurong divine art, he would have probably been slain by that scimitar. Right now, he was willing to listen to any possible explanation. All he wanted was to know the truth. Xianxia's outburst silenced the crowd. Ha! All of you just think about it. Our righteous alliance has been established for some time without encountering this kind of opponent, and let alone the Righteous Alliance even further back. Have any of you, all renowned individuals of the martial arts world, ever encountered such a foe? Martial arts, techniques, and objectives are all a mystery, and we've been in the Northwest for quite some time. Why was there only an incident now? Have none of you realized that all this only happened after an outsider appeared at our Righteous Alliance? Xianxia sinisterly smiled, and then he shot a profound glance at Wang Chong. The mood instantly changed. and the chattering crowd began to turn to Wang Chong, their eyes suspicious and doubtful. Before anyone else could speak, Song Yuran jumped forward, her body trembling in rage. Ji Endu, this is slander. Do you think I don't know what you're doing in making such charges against young Master Qingyang? Song Ju also jumped forward. That's right. Young Master Qingyang isn't that kind of person. Andu, cease your nonsense. At this moment, Song Yuani spoke in a dignified tone. Young Master Qingyang is an honored guest of our righteous alliance, and he even helped us before. How could he hurt us now? Song Yuani's expression was calm, but his tone was of a person who would not be questioned. Seeing Song Yuani speak up, Song Yuran and Song Ju both rejoiced and sighed in relief. Alliance Lord, this one is not speaking nonsense. This man is truly too suspicious. I am not just randomly throwing out unjust accusations. Ji Endu finally turned serious, clasping his hands and bowing. I have reasons for my suspicions. The time of his appearance is just too fishy. Everyone knows that the men in black attacked only after his arrival. There is no need for me to elaborate any further on that. Young Master Qingyang is well learned in all martial arts, and on the first day, with just his mouth, he was able to command our Righteous Alliance disciples in using their sword arrays to kill Black General Impermanence and force back the Black Yin ancestor. But tonight, even though so many people died in the Alliance, did any of you see young Master Qingyang command our experts in dealing with the men in black? The renowned young Master Qingyang actually chose to hide? Is this not suspicious? Ji Endu sneered. Buzz. The Righteous Alliance experts had originally believed that Ji Endu was speaking nonsense and was trying to frame young Master Qingyang out of envy for the closeness of his relationship with Song Yuran. But now that they thought about it, they truly did not know where this young Master Qingyang had been throughout the battle. He had seemingly disappeared like a puff of steam. At this moment, even Ouyang Chongheng, who had firmly supported Wang Chong, unconsciously shot a glance at him. Wang Chong said nothing, his expression calm. He did not attempt to retort as he waited for Ji Endu to finish. Not only that, it's one thing if young Master Qingyang doesn't help us. But do all of you know where I found him at the fiercest moments of the battle? At the base of the mountain. I found him at the base of the mountain. That young Master Qingyang of yours was getting ready to secretly flee this place. Ji Endu coldly said, his voice oozing with disdain. Bang! The crowd fell into an uproar. However, Song Yuani and Xie Guangting remained unmoved. How could this be? The Righteous Alliance experts began to whisper amongst themselves, shooting glances that were different from before at Wang Chong. Humph, that's not the end of it. Did none of you notice that when these people first arrived, they seemed to charge straight up the mountain with a definite goal, but when it seemed like they couldn't find their target, they began to fight with us? Do you need me to explain to you what might be worth searching for in our Righteous Alliance? Ji Endu broadly grinned. He stared viciously at Wang Chong, his intentions clear. Whoosh! For a moment, all fell silent, save for the sound of the gusting wind. Everyone stared at young Master Qingyang, an invisible tension building up in the air. At this time, only 3 people had retained their composure. One was Righteous Alliance Lord Song Yuani, the second was Righteous Alliance Vice Lord Xie Guangting, and the last was none other than the center of attention, Wang Chong. Are you done? Wang Chong said indifferently as he walked forward with his hands behind his back. These 3 words immediately had everyone waiting with bated breath. His expression was composed, and even though all the experts of the Righteous Alliance surrounded him, he showed no fear. When he heard that Song Yuani had invited him, Wang Chong had already guessed at what was going on. There was no such thing as a free banquet. Whether it was Ji Endu, Song Yuani, or the Vice Alliance Lord, all of them were difficult customers. The first would find every way to make trouble for him, while the other 2 had succeeded in entrapping the demonic Emperor Old Man at his peak. From this, one could easily see how shrewd they had to be. These people had been suspicious of him from the very start, and recent events had probably only increased their suspicion. If he answered poorly, all the Righteous Alliance experts surrounding him would attack. It seemed like Song Yuani was choosing to stand by the wayside or even speak up on his behalf. But Wang Chong was sure that if he didn't step up, the Righteous Alliance Lord would strike more swiftly and viciously than anyone else here. It seems like Protector G's bias toward me has already reached an irreconcilable level. With just a few groundless accusations, you wish to push me into the abyss. Truly a completely unscrupulous fellow. Wang Chong shot a glance at Ji Endu, who felt his heart jolt in ill foreboding. Humph. I'd like to see what arguments you can make, Ji Endu coldly sneered. On my first day in the Righteous Alliance, Protector Ji misunderstood me to have designs on Miss Song and wanted to attack me, but Miss Song stopped him. Then, he started to doubt that I was the real young Master Qingyang. Even now, when the Alliance was under attack and everyone was bitterly fighting, Protector Ji was not thinking about ways to deal with the men in black, but ran all the way to the base of the mountain to find me. I thoroughly appreciate Protector Ji's heartfelt concern. Wang Chong glanced at Ji Endu and smirked. Thump. Ji Endu felt his heart thump once more, his face instantly paling. The expression in the eyes of the Righteous Alliance elders and disciples also shifted. In this battle, the Righteous Alliance had sustained serious losses, with 600 to 700 disciples entering their eternal sleep. When Ji Endu, a protector of the Righteous Alliance, was needed the most, he had run off to search for young Master Qingyang. There was no denying this. Don't speak nonsense. The entire mountain was covered in enemies. I had rushed there at the time to reinforce the area, Ji Endu harshly said. The expressions of the others remained doubtful. Saying anything more at this time was pointless. There was no question that Ji Endu was targeting young Master Qingyang, and the explanation he gave now was a feeble and unconvincing one. Whether that's right or wrong I won't say. I'm sure everyone understands, Wang Chong said. Don't try your word tricks here. You didn't appear once during this night raid, much less command the Righteous Alliance disciples in dealing with the men in black. When something abnormal happens, there's always an evildoer behind it. While everyone else was fighting with the men in black, you were hiding around, even trying to escape off the mountain. If you say that these people weren't coming for you, then who were they coming for? And the elders of the Alliance can all serve as witnesses. You can't escape this charge. Ji Endu coldly shot back, his demeanor imposing and showing no intent of letting Wang Chong go. He. I must thank Protector for saying this. Wang Chong couldn't help but coldly chuckle. Firstly, I am no disciple of the Righteous Alliance, and I never said that I wanted to stay here forever. It was Alliance Lord who invited me. In other words, I have no duty to help out the Righteous Alliance. Wang Chong coldly sneered, and his words left everyone embarrassed. Although they didn't want to hear young Master Qingyang was right. He had never been a disciple of the Righteous Alliance, and it was completely up to him whether he helped or not. The Righteous Alliance had no right to ask him for anything. Moreover, young Master Qingyang had even helped yesterday in dealing with the Blackine Ancestor and Black General Impermanence, but now the Righteous Alliance was creating all sorts of difficulties for him. It was no wonder he was angry. Young Master Qingyang, don't be angry. We didn't mean it that way, a Righteous Alliance elder said, his expression embarrassed to the extreme. And at the end, I appeared at the base of the mountain because I was trying to avoid you, right, Protector Ji? Wang Chong coldly glared at Ji Endu. Swoosh! The crowd fell into an uproar. Kid! What nonsense are you babbling? Ji Endu sternly shot back, his expression ice-cold. In his ears, Wang Chong's words were sheer nonsense. Humph! From the very beginning, Protector Ji has been brimming with hostility toward me. In such an intense battle, Protector Ji didn't deal with the men in black, but instead tried to use the chaos to deal with me, chasing me from the summit to the base, and even attempting to murder me at the base of the mountain. Protector Ji believed that no one else knew, but someone noticed all this a long time ago, Wang Chong coldly said. That's right. Wang Chong had barely finished speaking when Song Ju jumped out of the crowd, his expression burning with rage. I saw it with my own eyes. Not only that, in order to deal with young Master Qingyang, Ji Endu even used the yin-yang art that Alliance Lord expressly forbade him from using. Song Ju immediately blurted out what he had seen. Bang! The Righteous Alliance elders and protectors instantly exploded at Song Ju's words. Even Righteous Alliance Vice Lord Xie Guangting creased his brow. The Yin-Yang art was an evil art, the supreme art of the most infamous individual in the entire martial arts world, Zhang Wenfu, the demonic emperor. The Righteous Alliance was a righteous sect that was not supposed to use this kind of evil art. This had been told to Ji and many times, but despite knowing this, he still went against this order. Not only that, the Righteous Alliance owed a favor to young Master Qingyang, but Ji Endu, for his own selfish desires, had chased him down to the base of the mountain and then even tried to frame him. Those of the righteous path regarded such conduct with utter contempt. Countless eyes, oozing with disdain, turned on Ji Endu. Bastard! Everyone, don't listen to this nonsense. He's just playing word games. Ji Endu's face was pale from rage and shock. Everything had reversed too quickly. Ji Endu, you still want to escape the responsibility? Young Master Qingyang might lie, but is Song Ju also lying? Song Yuran couldn't help but speak up at this time, and as she stared at Ji Endu, her face was ashen with anger. She knew that Ji Endu harbored ill intentions, but she had never imagined him to be this despicable. Protector Ji, you've truly disappointed us. Young Master Qingyang has assisted us before, so how could you treat him this way? That's right. Even if you like Miss Song, you can't resort to such lowly methods. It's one thing for you to not help out when everyone else was fighting with the men in black, but you even decided to use the chance to attack someone on your own side. You've brought shame on the entire righteous path. Ha! Protector Ji, what can I say? The Righteous Alliance elders sighed as they looked at Ji Endu. And though the other Righteous Alliance experts said nothing, the strange looks in their eyes said enough. Yuran, listen to me. This isn't what it looks like. This scoundrel pretending to be young Master Qingyang claims that he doesn't know martial arts, but in truth, Ji Endu was vexed that his attempt to expose Wang Chong had ended up being a trial against him. Ji Endu hated Wang Chong to his bones at this time, and if there weren't so many people around, he would have already charged up and cleaved Wang Chong apart with his palm. Enough! A thunderous voice resounded. Song Yuanyi's icy voice immediately caused the crowd to calm down. Alliance Lord! Everyone bowed to the cold and aloof Song Yuanyi, falling silent. When Song Yuanyi spoke, no one dared to talk back. This one now understands what is going on. Ji Endu, did I not tell you that since you were now a part of our righteous alliance, you should not use the arts of the evil path, particularly the yin-yang art? Song Yuanyi turned his head and coldly glanced at Ji Endu. This single glance was enough to cause Ji Endu to shiver in both body and mind. He hurriedly lowered his head, his complexion pale. Alliance Lord, forgive me. Do not repeat this matter in the future. Young Master Qingyang is our ally, and I do not wish to see such things happen. Understood. Song Yuanyi coldly said. Endu understands. Ji Endu's heart shivered as he lowered his head even further. As the mood was relaxing, the taciturn Vice Alliance Lord, Xie Guangting, suddenly said, Alliance Lord, our righteous alliance suffered many losses in this battle, and it seems like young Master Qingyang has also been injured. Your eternal spring mantra is profound beyond compare. There is no harm in giving a little assistance to young Master Qingyang. These words had come so unbidden that Ji Endu, who had just been ready to turn and leave, came to an abrupt halt as if sensing that something was about to happen. The other Righteous Alliance elders and experts also felt their hearts thump as if in realization. Song Yuran and Song Ju paled in unease. Many thanks, Vice Alliance Lord, but that is not necessary. This one's injuries are not serious. An Alliance Lord has just been through a major battle, severely exhausting his stellar energy. There is no need for Alliance Lord to tire himself over such a trifling injury. Wang Chong bowed, his tone neither too meek nor too proud. Haha, there is no need for young Master to be so polite. Young Master was injured in our righteous alliance, so this is our duty, no matter how much stellar energy we must expend. Don't you agree, Brother Song? Xie Guangting indifferently said, shooting a glance at Song Yuanyi. Brother Xie is right. A little more stellar energy is not important. There is no need for young Master Qingyang to refuse, Song Yuanyi lightly said. As the pair echoed each other, The nearby Ji and who believed he had lost suddenly cracked a sinister smile. Meanwhile, Wang Chong grimaced. It appeared like he had only needed to deal with Ji and in this meeting. But in truth, his actual foe was the person who had spoken up on his behalf, Song Yuani. In the end, this entire act was so that Xie Guangding could say those words, using the excuse of treatment to probe Wang Chong. Tap. With a crisp clack, Song Yuani emotionlessly took a step forward, allowing no explanation as he made his way toward Wang Chong. At this moment, Ouyang Changheng and the other elders seemed to realize what was going on, and they began to uneasily glance back and forth between Song Yuani and young master Qingyang. However, none of them dared to say anything, as once the Alliance Lord made a decision, there could be no objections. In their view, Ji Andu's arguments had not been entirely ineffective. Tap. Song Yuani took another step, closing distance with Wang Chong. Upon seeing those cold eyes, Wang Chong felt his hair stand on end and alarm bells go off in his head. At almost the same moment, the Stone of Destiny's voice rang out in Wang Chong's mind, urgent and brimming with a sense of danger. Warning! Special event. User has unintentionally come upon the sect mission and is in danger. Side mission Origin Immortal Art is on the verge of failure. Warning! Mission failure imminent. Song Yuani possessed extraordinary strength, and his Immortal Universe Eternal Spring mantra was enough to place him almost on par with the demonic Emperor Old Man. Wang Chong had still not recovered his strength, and his body was still rampant with the stellar energy thrown into disarray by the great Yin-Yang Heaven creation art. Although Wang Chong had done his utmost to restrain his energy, someone of Song Yuani's strength, with the excuse of treatment, could send the stellar energy of the Eternal Spring mantra roving through Wang Chong's body and understand everything that was going on inside. Once the great Yin-Yang Heaven creation art was exposed, Wang Chong's identity would be as plain as day, and it was easy to imagine what would happen to him next. Before calling this meeting, Song Yuani had placed 7 to 8 elders around the mountain to prevent Wang Chong from leaving. Moreover, he and Xie Guangding were together on the summit, and when these two were together, not even the 3 bamboo hat men were a match, let alone the injured Wang Chong. He couldn't run even if he wanted to. Thump! A fair and slender finger lightly touched Wang Chong's shoulder. At the same time, boundless energy brimming with vitality gathered on the tip. Bang! In the blink of an eye, before Wang Chong could react, this vast stellar energy surged through Song Yuani's finger and into Wang Chong's body, traveling with astonishing speed through his meridians to every part of his body, his dantian included. During battle, Song Yuani's Eternal Spring mantra seemed soft and vigorous, but its strength was tyrannical beyond compare. It took mere moments for the energy to plunge into the depths of Wang Chong's body. Wang Chong's body was like a bright mirror, the situation clearly reflected in Song Yuani's mind. Time slowed to a crawl. 10 inches, 8 inches, 6 inches, 5 inches. Song Yuani's stellar energy had already encroached upon the vast majority of Wang Chong's body and was only a few inches away from his dantian. He was only moments away from encountering the ball into which Wang Chong had scrunched up the great Yin-Yang Heaven creation art. At that point, all of Wang Chong's secrets would be completely exposed. And given the relationship between Song Yuani and the demonic emperor, it was obvious what would happen to Wang Chong once the great Yin-Yang Heaven creation art was discovered within him. Warning! Warning! As Wang Chong felt like his skull was about to explode and his mind was tense to the extreme, the Stone of Destiny's calls of warning were constantly ringing out in his mind. Wang Chong instantly felt like he was standing on the precipice between life and death. In 1 second, Wang Chong's identity would be revealed, and then the joint attack of Song Yuani and Xie Guangding would sign his death warrant. Buzz! Just when Wang Chong was prepared to fight to the death with Song Yuani and Xie Guangding, a surprising message rang out in his mind. Warning! User's death is imminent. As Wang Chong readied his attack, the Stone of Destiny spoke, but its message this time was completely different from before. As user's opponent is a being of this world, with the tacit acknowledgement that the current crisis was triggered by the constraint and resistance of this world, user, as controller of destiny, has a single opportunity to exempt themselves from the energy of the world. Does user wish to agree? Wang Chong had no time to ponder and immediately chose to agree. A moment later, the inconceivable took place. Energy suddenly erupted from Wang Chong's dantian, rapidly engulfing all the stellar energy of the great yin-yang heaven creation art in his body, swiftly gathering and compressing it into a corner of his dantian. This process was so speedily completed that it was done before Wang Chong had even realized what was going on. Even Song Yuanyi seemed to be moving like a snail in comparison. Even more inconceivable were the properties of this energy. It was as thin as paper and seemed to lack any sort of attribute. It was like clear water or transparent air. If Wang Chong hadn't been the one who had triggered this energy, he wouldn't have even realized that anything had happened. Bang! A split second later, his dantian trembled as Song Yuanyi's unique eternal spring stellar energy flooded in, searching through every part of it. Song Yuanyi was not performing an ordinary search. His eternal spring stellar energy looked through every nook and cranny of Wang Chong's dantian. But at this moment, Song Yuanyi creased his brow. It was clear that he had not obtained the result he had imagined. What's wrong? Are young Master Qingyang's injuries dire? Xie Guangting suddenly asked. Young Master Qingyang's injuries are not serious at all. But for him to be injured in the base of our righteous alliance is a dereliction of duty on our part, Song Yuanyi said, his expression much improved. As he spoke, he sent the stellar energy of the eternal spring mantra swimming through Wang Chong's limbs and bones, healing all the wounds in his body caused by the cultivation defect. A few moments later, Wang Chong's body had been completely healed. Everyone says that young Master Qingyang's meridians are unique. From what I have seen today, this truly is the case. Such a pity for one of young Master's talent. Song Yuanyi withdrew his hand, the torrent of stellar energy flowing back into his body. Perhaps Wang Chong was seeing things, but when Song Yuanyi finished his examination, his eyes seemed much gentler. Everyone sighed in relief, the tense air relaxing. Only one person had a face stricken with incredulity and disbelief. This is impossible. There was no one more shocked at this time than Ji Endu. He would never believe that Song Yuanyi's inspection would turn up nothing. Song Yuanyi was the righteous alliance lord, possessing an unfathomable cultivation level. Moreover, he was already suspicious of Wang Chong, so there was simply no reason for him to take Wang Chong's side. What's going on here? Could I have really been wrong? Ji Endu was dumbfounded and speechless. Half of the reason he was against Wang Chong was Song Yuan, but the other half was because he had felt there was a problem with Wang Chong from the very beginning. But now there was nothing he could say. Wonderful! Song Yuan and Song Ju, on the other hand, were simply ecstatic. Alliance Lord Song, thank you. The eternal spring mantra is truly mystical. The condition of this one's body is much better than before. At this moment, Wang Chong calmly bowed. But though he seemed calm on the surface, inwardly, he felt like he was drenched in cold sweat. This had been far too dangerous, and the smallest delay would have resulted in being exposed and fighting a battle for his life. At the start, not even he had expected Song Yuanyi's search to turn up fruitless, but this had in some way helped him get past this crisis. Wait a moment, Alliance Lord. Ji Endu suddenly called out, his face brimming with unwillingness. But before he could continue making trouble for Wang Chong, reporting, dust churned as a voice yelled out of the darkness. Everyone turned to look and saw three figures rushing as fast as horses toward the summit. A nearby elder with sharp eyes immediately recognized them. It's the scouts we sent out. After being so suddenly interrupted, Ji Endu immediately lost his chance to speak. A few moments later, the Righteous Alliance disciples had rushed from the base of the mountain to the summit, getting down on one knee in front of Song Yuanyi and Xie Guangting. Reporting, Milords, traces of the origin Immortal Mountain have been discovered. Many people are gathering over there. It seems like the origin Immortal Mountain will fully appear tomorrow at the latest. Buzz. This news instantly grabbed everyone's attention, and even Wang Chong felt his heart thump as he turned to those disciples. If the origin Immortal Mountain is appearing, Master and the village chief will definitely be there. Perhaps they're going there now, Wang Chong quietly said to himself. He had heard the origin Immortal Mountain mentioned moments after arriving in the northwest, but even now, he still had no idea what it was. Everyone, disperse and get ready, Song Yuani suddenly said, his eyes erupting with cold and dazzling light. After some rest, we will set out for the origin immortal mountain. The innate flaw of the great Yin-Yang heaven creation art is that the more one cultivates it, the higher the chance of cultivation defect becomes. Demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu has appeared in the northwest this time undoubtedly to obtain the origin immortal art. As long as we stand guard around the origin immortal mountain, we should be able to surround him and wipe him out together with his helpers. Righteous Alliance Vice Lord Xie Guangting stepped forward and declared, Alliance Lord is right. Demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu has killed far too many and is public enemy number one of the righteous sects. We weren't able to finish the job last time. So this time, we have to kill this demon and exterminate this problem once and for all. Yes. Everyone sounded off in agreement. Lowering their heads, the people on the summit quickly withdrew, including Wang Chong and Ji Endu. Only Song Yuani and Xie Guangting were left. Without any outsiders present, Xie Guangting now turned to the Alliance Lord and asked, What in the world happened? Was it not him? I'm not sure myself. Song Yuani's brow deeply furrowed in extreme confusion. Perhaps my guess was wrong. Upon hearing this, Xie Guangting's brows subtly twitched. This response caught him completely by surprise. In all the years he had known Song Yuani's intuition had always been very accurate and was rarely wrong. If he felt that there was a problem with this young Master Qingyang, then there definitely had to be one. But this time, Song Yuani actually said that he wasn't sure. A simply unprecedented statement. What's going on? Could it really not be him? Xie Guangting was incredibly confused. But Xie Guangting could not offer any argument. After all, Song Yuani had already placed his hand on young Master Qingyang and done a thorough inspection of his body. There was no way someone of Song Yuani's cultivation would have failed to detect a problem. Anything has a chance of happening. Perhaps Yuani really was wrong this time, Xie Guangting said to himself, and his creased brows began to slowly relax. The night was silent. On the southeast face of the mountain, Wang Chong was seated on a crumbled rock, his robes gently swaying in the wind. Phew! Now that no one was around, Wang Chong could finally relax, letting out a long breath. It had been incredibly close, but in the end, he had still managed to escape. Just what's going on with this controller of destiny? In his calm state, Wang Chong could now ponder what had just happened. Exemption from the energy of the world was something that had never happened before. Apparently, this was one of the abilities of the title granted by the Stone of Destiny. After defeating the Arabian Empire in the Battle of Talas and killing hundreds of thousands of soldiers, Wang Chong had had his Stone of Destiny title upgraded, but Wang Chong had never known what this title did all the way until that most perilous moment. With a thought, Wang Chong communicated with the Stone of Destiny. Next to the 5 reward categories, he discovered something new. This was a golden will firmly grasped by a golden hand. Through the openings between the spokes of the wheel, Wang Chong could see several words written on the palm of the golden hand. Controller of Destiny. Golden mist emerged from the hand and wheel, imbuing them with an air of mystery. Wang Chong had an idea and tried to communicate with this hand and wheel. A moment later, some information flowed into his mind. Controller of Destiny. Special ability. In special circumstances, can provide exemption from attacks or threats related to the energy of this world. Can only be used once a month and is only triggered under special circumstances. Costs 1 point of destiny energy. Wang Chong was stunned as he read this information. After all this time, Wang Chong had still failed to comprehend the secrets of the Stone of Destiny. On the contrary, the more he knew about it, the more mysterious it became. Up until now, Wang Chong had never known the Stone of Destiny to have such an ability. I obtained a Stone of Destiny title before, but I wasn't able to see how it was useful. After the last war, I became Controller of Destiny and obtained a one-time exemption from the attacks originating from this world's energy. I wonder what will happen with the next upgrade. Wang Chong spent a little more time, using various methods to try to plumb more secrets from the Stone of Destiny, but after several failures, he put the matter aside. I can deal with this later. My first priority is to find Master Quite some time had passed since his master and the others had gone missing. Based on what he had heard from the Righteous Alliance, his master had fought Song Yuanyi not too long ago. But he didn't know how they were doing now. Moreover, if the village chief and the others returned to the stone formation and found that he wasn't there, they would probably be very worried. When I go with the Righteous Alliance to the Origin Immortal Mountain tomorrow, that will be the best chance to meet up with Master and the others, Wang Chong said to himself. It was apparent from the report of the Righteous Alliance scouts that everyone already knew about the appearance of the Origin Immortal Mountain. There was no reason for his master not to know as well. And this would offer the best opportunity for him to join back up with the village chief and the others. Moreover, after surviving the suspicions of Ji Endu and Song Yuanyi one after the other, Wang Chong was actually rather safe in the Righteous Alliance. With this thought, Wang Chong quickly calmed down. The skies of the east gradually brightened as night swiftly passed. With the first bird call, a Righteous Alliance disciple on the summit stood up and stretched, his complexion hale and hearty. After a night's rest, the Righteous Alliance disciples had managed to recover, and more disciples began to get up. Alliance Lord has ordered us to get ready to move out. The target is the Origin Immortal Mountain. A loud voice resounded over the mountain, instantly causing a stir. Hundreds of Righteous Alliance disciples were swiftly set into motion, surging down the mountain like a flood and heading straight toward the Origin Immortal Mountain. The people of the sects truly are different. So many people died in the raid from the men in black last night, but they seem to have already forgotten about it. Perhaps killing is so frequent in the world of sects that everyone is already desensitized to it. Wang Chong mentally sighed. Young Master Qingyang, let's go. A crisp voice rang out at his ear. At some point, Song Yuran and Song Ju had walked up behind Wang Chong. Wang Chong nodded and quickly joined the Righteous Alliance army as it made its way toward the place where the legendary Origin Immortal Mountain was about to appear. Time slowly passed as the army made its way northwestward. The surroundings were devoid of people, and it seemed like the only force left in the northwest was the Righteous Alliance. It seems like all the other factions have already learned about and headed toward the Origin Immortal Mountain, Wang Chong remarked to himself. The several hundred disciples of the Righteous Alliance continued to press toward their destination, encountering no sudden incidents. Buzz. Several dozen li later, a great clamor could be heard in the distance. Reporting. A few moments later, a Righteous Alliance disciple rushed over from the front. Alliance Lord, the Origin Immortal Mountain is just up ahead. In the center of the army, Song Yuanyi slightly nodded and sternly said, I understand. Keep a tight watch. Report to me as soon as there's a new development. Yes, Alliance Lord. With this order, the Righteous Alliance disciple rushed back to the front. We finally arrived. Nearby, Wang Chong felt a rush of anticipation upon hearing the scouts' report. The Origin Immortal Art had been lost for several hundred years now, and though he didn't know what this Origin Immortal Mountain was, it was undoubtedly inextricably connected to the Origin Immortal Art. 9 li went by in the blink of an eye, and Wang Chong could finally see their destination. The vast region in front of them was packed with people. Countless people dressed in the attire of various sects were chatting with each other, all of them looking in one direction as if waiting for something. When Wang Chong followed their gazes, he saw dazzling lights twisting and writhing in the air, and within these lights, the flickering image of a mountain. This mountain was steep and jagged, its crags as sharp as swords. And given the half of the mountain that was visible, the body of the mountain was undoubtedly immense. Even someone as experienced as Wang Chong couldn't help but be taken aback by this mountain. Truly incredible. Just what's going on here? Wang Chong mentally remarked. From the situation in the distance, this sight had been taking place for some time, and apparently no one had been able to explain why. Everyone, hear my order. Advance at full speed, Song Yuanyi announced in his dignified voice, and all the Righteous Alliance disciples immediately began to press forward. The momentum created by several hundred Righteous Alliance disciples advancing at full speed was truly an astonishing sight. Ah! The Righteous Alliance, the Righteous Alliance. Let's go. The Righteous Alliance is here. The banners of the Righteous Alliance snapping in the wind and the forces behind them caused those people who had already gathered to swiftly move to the sides, awe and respect on their faces. In the martial arts world, the Righteous Alliance was the undisputed #1 faction, the leader of all the others. And Song Yuanyi and Xie Guangting possessed thunderous reputations, known by almost everyone in the world of sex. With this vice lord and lord arriving together, no one dared to recklessly oppose this faction. The force of several hundred advanced like a crocodile entering a pond, stirring up countless ripples. The crowd voluntarily retreated, leaving enough space for the Righteous Alliance. Alliance Lord, what should we do now? Xikong Yuanjia, Ouyang Chongheng, and the others gathered around Song Yuanyi, bowing as they waited for orders. Immediately send men to investigate. Don't get careless, Song Yuanyi said. Alliance Lord, these people are all here waiting for the appearance of the Origin Immortal Mountain, so they can fight over the Origin Immortal Art. Should we participate? An elder asked. There are too many sect martial artists gathered here, another added. They will have a large effect on the Righteous Alliance's operations. As is customary with the Righteous Alliance, we can simply seal off this entire region. No rush. Song Yuanyi's face was expressionless and utterly devoid of emotion. The Origin Immortal Art has not appeared in many years, and for the Origin Immortal Mountain to appear now is simply too abrupt. This matter might not be as simple as we imagine. Song Yuanyi appeared relaxed and confident, but his deep and profound eyes seemed to be able to see through all secrets. As the Righteous Alliance Lord, Song Yuanyi would never just take a person at their word, nor would he believe in any treasure that simply fell from the sky into his lap. When the abnormal took place, there was definitely some evildoer behind it. For Song Yuanyi, any benefit that was too great or came too easily was not as simple as it looked. Yes, Alliance Lord, Xikong Yuanjia and the others called out in unison. In addition, remember to keep scouting out the surroundings. Since the Origin Immortal Mountain is here, demonic Emperor Zhang Wenfu should also be here. Search carefully. If you find any trace of him, strike immediately. Song Yuanyi's eyes suddenly chilled, seething with thick killing intent. The Righteous Alliance experts around him all withdrew. Wang Chong had heard all this clearly from the sidelines. Just like Song Yuanyi, Wang Chong was also searching for the demonic Emperor Old Man. There are too many people. Trying to find Master in all this won't be easy, Wang Chong quietly said to himself. Wang Chong wasn't too worried about Song Yuanyi. Although the Righteous Alliance Lord's Eternal Spring Mantra was powerful and profound beyond compare, Song Yuanyi had still not been able to deal with his master in the past. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to use Ji Endu. Moreover, his master had now returned to his peak, meaning that Song Yuanyi was probably just as incapable of dealing with him as before. Time slowly passed. With the several hundred disciples of the Righteous Alliance gathered together, they were like a crane standing amongst chickens. Everyone kept a distance of 10-some paces from them. Wang Chong swept his gaze back and forth, attempting to find any trace of his master in the crowd, but both his efforts and the Righteous Alliance's proved fruitless. Impossible. This region is so large that Master can't possibly not be here. And he wouldn't just cancel his plans because of Song Yuanyi and Xie Guangting. Wang Chong thought for a few moments. With a glint in his eyes, he quickly had an idea. Buzz. A moment later, Wang Chong's eyes gleamed as he entered the world of energy. All the previous scenes vanished, replaced by strange and incredibly complex streams of energy. Countless streams of energy of varying intensity and color radiated from the various martial artists. Each martial artist had their own dazzling energy source that shone brightly in the world of energy. For Wang Chong, using the world of energy to search for his master was the best method. In the world of energy, living beings did not exist, nor would one be restrained by one's physical vision. Most importantly, Wang Chong was extremely familiar with his master's energy, and he could recognize it at a glance in the world of energy, even over vast distances. But a moment later, Wang Chong's brow creased. This doesn't make sense. Is Master really not here? Wang Chong inwardly muttered. He had scanned the entire area through the world of energy but had seen no sign of his master. Look! At this moment, a roar came from the crowd, instantly gaining Wang Chong's attention. Turning to look, he saw a figure suddenly rise from the crowd, shooting like a bird toward that mysterious and flickering glow and the half-mountain within it. Ah! People in the crowd called out in alarm. Everyone knew that the legends regarding the origin immortal art spoke of many dangers. Putting aside the killings committed over the treasure maps, during the search for the treasure, numerous people had ventured into various real and fake treasure grounds and never come out again. That mountain and the multicolored glow accompanying it oozed danger from every pore. This guy is doomed. On the ground, various people felt their hearts tense as they looked up at that man, and even Wang Chong couldn't help but focus. Righteous Alliance Lord Song Yuanyi, Vice Lord Xie Guangting, and Elders Sikong Yuanjia and Ouyang Changheng had also turned to look. In the air, that solitary martial artist was getting closer and closer to the glow around that ethereal mountain. 100 feet, 60 feet, 30 feet, 20 feet. Regardless of sect, everyone held their breath. Time seemed to stop, but a moment later, bzzz, that person began to get slower and slower until finally, he simply dropped straight to the ground. Boom! The crowd immediately exploded with laughter, their eyes filled with disdain. Who was that? Trying to show off with such little strength. Just go home already. Ha ha ha. The crowd loudly laughed, making no attempt to hide its contempt and scorn. From that scene just now, that unaffiliated martial artist was clearly lacking in strength for such a scene to occur, and this was with so many people watching and the number one Righteous Alliance here. This was truly nothing more than making a fool of oneself. Stand aside. Let me do it. Amidst the laughter, another man shot into the sky toward that mountain. The martial artist this time leaped higher and faster, but a moment later, when everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation, a similar scene occurred. When he was still several dozen feet from the mountain, he got slower and slower until he finally just dropped straight to the ground. Ha ha ha! The laughter got even louder, all the martial artists gathered here jeering at these two. Only Wang Chong slightly frowned, sensing that something was wrong. More and more martial artists made the attempt, lunging at the origin immortal mountain from various directions. But not a single one could successfully touch that mountain in the sky. The jeering laughter got louder and louder. These people were also lacking in strength, yet they dared to try and show off. But gradually, after 30 sect martial artists had used various techniques, even throwing out weapons and firing off stellar energy, but still failed to reach the mountain, the crowd began to sense that something was wrong. Alliance Lord, why don't we try? A Righteous Alliance expert reverentially said to Song Yuanyi. There's no need, Song Yuanyi softly said, with his hands behind his back and a perceptive light in his eyes. That is a powerful seal. It wasn't that these people were lacking in strength, but the seal makes it impossible for them to approach. Clap. Song Yuanyi suddenly moved so quickly that no one could see, and the air exploded as a crystalline bolt of energy flew through the air toward the origin immortal mountain. Rumble. Shockwaves rippled through the air. This time, everyone could clearly see that when this bolt of energy was around 10 feet away from the mountain, it was suddenly affixed to the spot. Countless ripples appeared around the tip of this bolt of energy. While small at first, like a fine drizzle, these ripples swiftly increased in size until they were like great waves. Ground away by this invisible energy, Song Yuanyi's bolt soon vanished without a trace. Even at the end, Song Yuanyi's energy bolt couldn't get within 10 feet of the mountain. Whoosh! The remaining half of the bolt of energy was instantly absorbed. Hooah! The crowd exploded at this sight, and even that Righteous Alliance expert who had spoken up before appeared shocked. Righteous Alliance Lord Song Yuanyi was incredibly powerful, and he was regarded as the undisputed supreme expert of the righteous path. Even a casual flick of energy from his finger was imbued with incredible power. But not even Song Yuanyi's attack could pierce through that seal. The supreme and infinite origin immortal art is the number one art of the Central Plains, and was created by the origin immortal lord. This person had an extremely mysterious background. It is said that he was an expert during the Spring and Autumn and Warring States eras. Besides martial arts, he was also known for being a formation master. That invisible energy that prevents people from approaching and nullifies everyone's stellar energy is undoubtedly a formation that he laid down. The Central Plains has many martial arts, but its understanding of formations has slowly been declining, and many powerful formations have been lost for many years. That mountain and multicolored glow in the sky is probably a powerful formation laid down by the Origin Immortal Lord. We have no understanding of it, so we cannot act recklessly around it, Song Yuanyi lightly said. Everyone present shivered at Song Yuanyi's words. The path of formations was extremely complicated. It was completely different from the strength of martial artists and harnessed the power of nature. Recklessly messing around without preparation might result in harming oneself. Nearby, Wang Chong mentally nodded in approval at Song Yuanyi's words. He shared almost the same conclusion as Song Yuanyi. This was an extremely powerful formation, but Wang Chong sensed that this was not purely a formation. He had vaguely sensed something else when Song Yuanyi had attacked. Boom! As he was thinking, the earth suddenly began to shake and a powerful energy began to approach. The Five Ancestor Alliance. It's the Five Ancestor Alliance. Panic shouts came from the distance. In a place some distance away, an unaffiliated martial artist standing at a high vantage point turned to look and immediately ran off in panic, and this news soon spread through the crowd like a plague. Reporting. A few moments later, the Righteous Alliance disciples scattered around the perimeter immediately flew back and kneeled in front of Song Yuanyi and Xie Guangting. People from the Five Ancestor Alliance have been sighted 7 to 8 li away. The Black Yin Ancestor is leading the force, and they're coming in our direction. Our initial estimates place their numbers at around 400 to 500 people. Awoo! As the kneeling Righteous Alliance disciple was speaking, ghostly wails and wolfish howls came from the distance. A moment later, a massive dark red banner was raised over the horizon. 5 different savage, ghostly heads were woven onto this banner, and from a distance, this banner exuded an aura of darkness and evil. Buzz! The sight of this banner caused the crowd to scatter with fearful and pale faces. Stand aside. The Black Yin Ancestor kills without batting an eye. Everyone, be careful. Damn! Why did these demons come? The people of the Five Ancestor Alliance are willing to commit all manner of evils. Any encounter will end in blood and disaster. This old man wants nothing more to do with this Origin immortal art. Many of the martial artists gathered here broke out in a cold sweat, and some of the unaffiliated martial artists turned and fled as quickly as possible. The Righteous Alliance was like the noon sun of the world of sex. No one dared to clash against it, and everyone regarded its members with immense fear. As for the vicious and evil Five Ancestor Alliance, everyone felt fear that came from the deepest depths of their hearts, from their worst nightmares. The Five Ancestor Alliance was formed from 5 venerable ancestors, each one powerful and irritable. Provoking them would result only in death. Wah! In a flash, the entire region was in disarray. The Five Ancestor Alliance arrived with utmost speed. In just a few moments, it had closed the distance and was rapidly marching toward the Righteous Alliance. Hua! The Righteous Alliance disciples at the very back saw that surging tide of 5 Ancestor Alliance experts and fell back. Song Yuanyi. This old man has completely recovered. Let's have a fair one-on-one match. A loud voice resounded through the world, and then a black beam of stellar energy shot through the air toward the snapping banner of the Righteous Alliance. Luo Qin, you haven't changed at all. Song Yuanyi calmly flicked his finger, sending a bolt of energy at the black stellar energy fired by the Black Yin Ancestor. Rumble. The stellar energies exploded against each other and cancelled each other out. Kiki, Song Yuanyi. It seems like you've consumed quite a bit of stellar energy. Strange laughter broke out as a black figure shrouded in evil energy suddenly emerged, thrusting out a palm. Roiling stellar energy, dark and sinister and as tough as steel, hurtled downward. This palm was not aimed at the Righteous Alliance banner, but at Song Yuanyi himself. No matter how much I've consumed, I have more than enough to deal with you, Song Yuanyi said icily, his voice echoing through the heavens. A moment later, he shot into the air, and vast torrents of eternal spring stellar energy flew toward Luo Qin. Boom boom boom. In just a few moments, the two had exchanged tensome attacks. Both Song Yuani and the Black Yin ancestor were top-class experts of the world of sex, their stellar energy tough and abundant. Fierce winds erupted from the clash between Song Yuani and the Black Yin ancestor. The air turned into strong and heavy waves that beat and roared. Boom! The earth shook as the waves of air slammed into the ground, stirring up dust and debris. Aya! The people in the surrounding area cried out in alarm and fell back as if they had encountered a snake or scorpion. Being struck by the stellar energy released by an expert of this caliber would result in instant death. Humph! Song Yui. Let this old man entertain you. Cold laughter rang out, tinged with indescribable evil. Without any warning, the particles of dust in a range of several li trembled and rose from the ground, turning the entire region into a sea of dust. At almost the same moment, sect martial artists, including experts of the Righteous Alliance, grimaced and cried out in alarm as they sensed that the circulation of stellar energy in their body had suddenly slowed. What powerful foul energy! Wang Chong was alarmed, and he turned to look in the direction of the voice. He could sense that foul energy was erupting out of the ground from a spot several dozen feet away and filling the air. This foul energy was of the most polluted sort and had not been refined in any way. It was completely out of place amongst the upright and bright stellar energy in the bodies of martial artists and the spiritual energy in the air. Even the energy in the body of evil path artists was much purer. Any martial artist, whether righteous or evil, would find their stellar energy begin to slow upon encountering such foul energy. Even Wang Chong was affected. However, Wang Chong only needed a mere thought to send the foul energy that had infiltrated his body toward the Yongquan point at the bottom of his foot and into the ground. Myriad ghost ancestor! Countless martial artists cried out in terror and backed up, even more afraid than when Black Yin ancestor Luo Qin had appeared. A moment later, black energy roiled and ghostly wails echoed through the world. A figure dressed in a wide-sleeved robe emerged from the rear of the 5 Ancestor Alliance disciples and attacked Righteous Alliance Lord Song Yuani. Kree! There was a shriek as the myriad ghost ancestor thrust out a palm. The black energy on the ground surged upward, condensing into countless ghost soldiers, ghost generals, skeletons, kings and monsters, all of them shrieking and wailing. And as the myriad ghost ancestor's palm pressed forward, this vast army of ghosts charged at Song Yuani. At that moment, the dark and foul energy increased by hundreds of times, so dense as to be suffocating. More importantly, everyone could sense a powerful suction from these endless ghosts and demons. But what was being pulled on was not their energy, but their souls. The myriad ghosts' pilgrimage great in art. Everyone, back up! An unaffiliated martial artist cried out, and immediately turned around in frenzied flight. Panic and terror spread infectiously through the crowd, and they pressed and pushed against each other in their bid to flee. Some martial artists even chose to take to the skies, jumping over the heads of the others. Bang bang bang. Sect martial artists, including disciples of the 5 Ancestor Alliance, collapsed to the ground, unable to escape in time. Their flesh rapidly began to shrivel, and before they died, their eyes opened wide in extreme terror. Damn it! Myriad ghost ancestor! I'll play with you! With a thunderous roar, another figure shot into the air. Xia Guangting thrust out a palm, sending immense energy hurtling toward the myriad ghost ancestors' myriad ghosts' pilgrimage great in art. Crack! With the sound of cracking earth, the endless foul energy that the myriad ghost ancestor had summoned was torn to pieces and covered in countless cracks. Even those ghost soldiers, generals, demons, they were instantly torn to pieces. Boom boom boom. Song Yuani fought against the Black Yin ancestor while Xie Guangting fought the myriad ghost ancestor, both sides fiercely battling in the skies. But a moment later, in an explosion of stellar energy, Song Yuani and the Black Yin ancestor broke away from each other. A split second later, the myriad ghost ancestor spun backward in the air and landed on the banner of the myriad ghost sect. Only now did everyone have a clear view of his face. This infamously vicious figure of the Five Ancestor Alliance had a hawkish nose and pitch-black skin. His hands were slightly curled like the claws of a bird. What left the deepest impression of all were his callous, pitch-black, and dreadful eyes. On the other side, Xie Guangting waved a sleeve, drifting down to the ground like a leaf, disturbing not even a grain of dust upon his landing. The two entered a tense standoff. The Black Yin ancestor broke the silence by suddenly saying, "Ha ha ha, Song Yuani. All the people of the martial arts world say that you possess sharp and perceptive eyes. But there is one thing that you might not know." He took 2 steps forward, evilly chuckled, and then took a flying leap. While still in the air, roiling black stellar energy surrounded him, and he shot like a black comet toward Song Yuani. "You've run out of tricks,"